What's up, guys? David here, and we have we have round 1 of playoffs. Yeah, we have the round of 8. We made it to playoffs. We're up against Adam and the Bee's Knees and his Kansas City Kakunas. Yeah, we're in playoffs. So you could see his team down there. Very scary mons, including but not limited to Rain, Jirachi, Mega Absol, Sock, and Mamoswine. So, as you can see, his team's super offensive. I don't really have switch-ins to a lot of those Pokemon, especially the Sock, the Mega Absol, the Mamoswine. And if Rain is up, I really don't have a switch-in to Ludicolo. So, we are going with Hyper Offense. As you can see, we have Adamant Kangaskhan, Fake Out Thunder Punch, Return Earthquake, standard stuff. The only thing that isn't O-code, more or less, by Return or Earthquake is the only thing that isn't 2-hit KO'd, I should say, is Fizdef Pelipper, so I'm thinking that's going to be his Helmet Mon, and then that's what Thunder Punch is for. Alright, cool. I'm set to outspeed a Jolly Sock, and I live a Choice Scarf Adamant CC from a Sock. Up next is Life Orb Sneasel, Knockoff, Iron Tail, Low Kick, Ice Shard. I thought about Pursuit, I thought about Ice Crash. Decided that I would rather have some coverage. Aside from everything on my team, this also has a way to hit Clefable, which is kind of annoying depending on the set. If that's his Rocky Helmet Mon, then I want all my mons to be able to deal with it. Low Kick for Mamoswine to sort of chip that down, as well as Absol if for some reason it doesn't have a fighting move, which I'd honestly be shocked. Ice Shard for general priority in case things are getting out of hand and I need some priority, like for Ludicolo and Rain, or Scarf Sock, or Absol, or whatever. Up next is Assault Vest Excadrill, Sand Rush, Iron Head, Earthquake, Rock Slide. Rock Slide, of course, for the Pelipper, Earthquake for literally everything else, Iron Head for the things that take it super effectively, such as there's a mon, Clefable and Mamoswine. That's the ones. Assault Vest because something like Shokaberry Tentacruel, or Special Jirachi, or Raikou, even something like Gothitelle or something could be interesting. I didn't really need Life Orb. I kind of still got Okos with Jolly Iron Head or Jolly Earthquake, so damage wasn't really what I needed, and I couldn't really use leftovers, couldn't really use anything in particular, didn't really... I thought about Pacho Berry, but ultimately Assault Vest is what I decided. It lets me take a hit from a defensive Pelipper if need be in Rain, so that's cool. To pair with it, of course, we have Gigalith. Gigalith has a really cool set this week. It is max HP, 100 defense, and 160 Spadef. 160 Spadef means I could take a modest Life Orb Hydro Pump from a Ludicolo in Sand. I take a Life Orb Adamant Earthquake. I take I could live a CC from something. I don't know if it's Adamant or Jolly Sock. I take special hits for days. My Spadef in Sand means that even Specs Aura Sphere or Raikou cannot 2-hit KO me, so that's cool. Smooth Rock to try and win the... So then if I can win the Weather War, I have 8 turns of Excadrill sweeping things, as opposed to 4. And yeah, it pairs with Drill, and it helps Drill do things. Up next is Scarf Thunderous. T-Bolt, U-Turn, HP Flying, Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse for Rachi and Gothitelle and Chandelure. Not really Chandelure. Thunderbolt for General Stab. U-Turn because he has ground types. And HP Flying because it is the hardest move I have to hit a Ludicolo. It does like 80% to a Ludicolo, which is kind of crazy that Ludicolo is so fat. But I don't even think it was a Carney tier. I don't even think I think it was still a Carney tier even with Rain, even though it's one of the best Rain sweepers in my opinion. But what am I to complain? I have a Kangaskhan. And last but not least, we have Choice Scarf Mimikyu. This Mimikyu was a couple of sets, but ultimately I want to shout out to Jolt for recommending Choice Scarf. Adamant, enough speed for Mamoswine. I'm not outspeeding a Scarf Sock with this, which is kind of scary, but I could live 2 knockoffs or something, or a knockoff, I don't know. But Disguise is very important in case of scary mons, and yeah, Shadow Claw, Play Rough, Wood Hammer, all general stab moves and coverage. Shadow Sneak in case I get knocked off and I need the priority in case of rain, etc, etc, etc. So, enough of that nonsense, let's jump right to the battle. As you can see, he brought things. He brought Rain, which I was very afraid of. He brought Mamoswine, which I was afraid of. He brought Mega Absol, which I figured was coming. Raikou I kind of expected, because my ground immunity, my electric immunities kind of get pressured, I guess is the right word. And if he's playing to win the Weather War, then having his electric type sort of clean up the game afterwards is really good. And then last but not least, he brought Gothitelle. Parker didn't bring Gothitelle against me, and if you remember correctly, I prepped for the Gothitelle last week with, last time, I think it was even week 2 or something, with like a Shed Shell Roserade and then a Pursuit Trapping Weavile. I decided not to prep for Gothitelle because everything barring my Gigalith just murders Gothitelle in a 1v1 scenario. Whereas Gigalith, if it gets prior damage it can, if not, then it's iffy. But I didn't really expect much from Gothitelle. I figured maybe a Scarf set, maybe some sort of like Calm Mind set to try and set up on a Gigalith, but Gigalith hits really hard, so I wasn't sure what to expect with that Gothitelle. I kind of expected more Sock, I expected more Jirachi, Clefable maybe? Mostly Jirachi to try and deal with a Thundurus, or a Scarf Sock to try and like break through my team. But here we are. I'm going to start it up. Looking at his team, I know that my lead wants... It's a lead Kangaskhan. The point is to lead and get a kill with it. That's what Fake Out's for, to break sashes. He leads Pelipper. I decide nobody really expects Thunder Punch from my Kangaskhan in all my mocks or in anything. So I'm just going to go for Thunder Punch. Maybe hope that he overpredicts. Thinks that, like, yeah, I can get a Scald on this. I can get a Toxic on this. I can U-turn on this because he knows that Return and all that other nonsense doesn't 2-hit KO a defensive Pelipper, but he makes the safe play. He goes into his Raikou to sort of scout for it. He admitted that he didn't think I had Thunder Punch, but he wanted to check anyway, and he was willing to sack his Raikou right away. So in comes the Raikou as I Mega Evolve, and we go for Thunder Punch. I get a crit, kind of useless. I don't know how much it ends up mattering. I don't remember. I decided to safely go into my Gigalith to take this Thunderbolt, and I see that it's a Life Orb, and that's useful information. I decide my rocks are more important than getting damage on the Gothitelle, which I kind of figured was coming. And here, he goes for Energy Ball, and not only does he do 46%, but he gets a Spadef drop. The Spadef drop doesn't matter because he's actually modest specs, so if he wasn't a spec set, then the Spadef drop would matter, but he's not, so I go for a Stone Edge. I do 50. If I had double Stone Edged, I just killed him, and I had a chance to just win the Weather War flat out. But ultimately, I'm fine with how this ended up. I decided to go into my Kangaskhan, which ultimately might have been a misplay, because I'm getting sand damage on this, and suddenly I'm not guaranteed to live a Absol superpower from this range. He needs a high roll to kill me from this range, but still. So I go into my Kangaskhan as opposed to my Drill. I decide to go Kangaskhan as opposed to Drill because if I went Drill, Rock Slide wasn't a guaranteed kill on the Goth, and because it wasn't a guaranteed kill and it still had the potential to miss, I didn't want to not kill I didn't want to go for Rock Slide, not kill the Gothitelle, and then have my drill die, because it's a Specs energy ball. Meanwhile, I also didn't want to go for Earthquake, have him save his Gothitelle for Death Fodder, and go into Pelipper to dodge the EQ, and set up Rain, and suddenly I'm in a really bad spot. I figured Kang would be able to come in, get a kill, and immediately reapply pressure to his team. And so, Kang gets a kill, he goes back into Raikou. I decide, okay, now I can go into my drill, because after sand damage, he is in Rock Slide range, and he can't damage me at all. So he goes into his Pelipper to set up his Rain. I go for the Rock Slide, nice prediction, and he has a Charty Berry, so he takes 20%. So instead of this being a 2-hit KO, it is now a 3-hit KO. I decided to stay in, knowing that I could live a defensive Scald, which was based on the Rock Slide damage with Charty Berry. He needed to be max. So I go for it again. He roosts. I didn't get a flinch. I go for it, going for the flinch, and ultimately, I'm trying to stall out Rain. Ooh, my mouse is here, so this works. I'm trying to stall out Rain, because I know Drill can live 2 hits. So, as long as he wants to keep his Pelipper alive, I'm going to keep pressuring it, so then he has to either burn Rain turns trying to kill my Drill, or whatever. I want to keep him out of range of living when he comes in on rocks. So then the Rain Weather War is done. Because he's a Charty Berry, I know it's only 3 turns, it's not 6 turns. And that was really complicated to try and explain something when ultimately I'm going to get crit and died. So, 2 turns of Rain left. I know that if I attack this Pelipper and it dies, then Ludicolo gets 1 turn of Rain Sweeping. 100%. That is what he's going for. I almost clicked Return, and then I canceled it, and then I realized I can click Fake Out here. Fake Out max roll does 23.2, so I'm really hoping Showdown's lying to me, and he has more than 23%. Whereas, that was worst case scenario, that I would super high roll him, get max roll, kill him with the Fake Out, and suddenly Ludicolo comes in. But aside from that, I can go for Fake Out, and he lives on 1%, so thank God. And then I go for Return next turn. He was very upset that his Rain ran out. And here, I'm looking at his team, and I'm like, alright, he doesn't have an answer to this. So, I have 2 options. I could either A, well, I have 3 options at this point, because when he goes into Raikou. I know he's planning to sort of sack this. I don't think he's going to click Volt Switch, but I know either the Thunderbolt, HP Ice, or something is coming out. Possibly the Aura Sphere. Not the Aura Sphere, because he's not shiny, of course. But Thunderbolt, HP Ice, or other move. Maybe Shadow Ball. I'm looking at this and I'm like, alright, I don't want to go Thundy because I need health on Thundy, because Thundy lives Adamant, Life Orb, Ice Shard. And Thundy's also very important for dealing with Ludicolo, in case it's a Rain Dance Ludicolo. I thought about going Sneasel on the HP Ice that I was sort of expecting, because I didn't expect an electric move, especially when I had a Thundurus. I thought about Sneasel. I wasn't sure how much it would take from a Thunderbolt, so ultimately I decided to stay in. And you'll see that if I went Sneasel like I originally planned, I would have looked like a god, because he goes for an extra sensory. And unfortunately, this puts me out of range of surviving an Absol's superpower. And I know I still need this Kangaskhan. This Kangaskhan is still important because it outspeeds Ludicolo and it outspeeds Mamoswine, barring Scarves on those 2 mons, which I'm not expecting. I'm expecting a fatter Kangaskhan, maybe max HP Adamant Bandit or something, or like an Adamant Life Orb with enough speed to outspeed like one of my walls or something, like No Speed Suicune or something. So in comes this Absol, and I know it has superpower, and I know that he's most likely going to go for it. But I don't want to risk losing my disguise on Mimikyu, because my disguise was super important on Mimikyu. I also didn't want to risk taking 1,000,000 damage with Thundurus, and then putting myself in range of like a Sucker Punch or an Ice Shard or a Hydro Pump or something. So ultimately, I decided my most expendable Mon was Sneasel, and if he overpredicted and went for knockoff to try and catch my Mimikyu, then I would be in a really good spot. So that's what I end up doing. I know the superpower is coming, but I went to Sneasel as a sack with being very hopeful that I would be able to like catch him on something, but alas. I bring in Mimikyu, I'm Scarfed, I'm just gonna go for a Wood Hammer because Wood Hammer kills Absol and it 2-hit KOs every other Mon. And this does 50. That's a Fizz Death Mamoswine. That is terrifying if I didn't do this. Especially with all the recoil I take. And here I'm guaranteed in Sucker Punch range, so Mimikyu's done its job, it's killed the Mamoswine. In comes the Thundy. He predicts me to not be Scarfed. I don't know. I can respect that play. I think his best play was going for the Sucker Punch crit and hoping to win that way. I think that would have been a good play. But if I wasn't Scarfed, and if I was like some sort of like Specs or like something, knockoff was by far the best play. Especially if I was like a setup variant or something, he couldn't risk that, I feel. So he goes for the non-Sucker Punch move, because I could have been Nasty Play, I could have been Sub, I could have been Agility, could have been a lot of things. So he doesn't go for a Sucker Punch. He lets me kill him with my Scarf Thunderbolt. In comes Ludicolo. I know I live anything outside of rain. He goes for a Hydro Pump. I'm assuming it's Splash Blade or something. And I managed to 2-hit KO it. And as long as he didn't set up rain, Kangaskhan won from there. So that was a really good game, Adam. It was super exciting, super intense, and really close. Like, it came down to the wire. But we ultimately end up moving on. And we are up against the winner of Rob versus Aster. I'm not going to spoil it, but go check their games out. Go check Adam out. I will put all 3 of them down below. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, whatever. Do your stuff. And I will catch you guys next time with the semifinals. Peace.